Hey everybody, Rob Warrior. I wanted to do another fun head-to-head video, and we're going to go deeper down the rabbit hole into the HUXWRX versus B&T. Now I've got my pistol caliber carbine here from Daniel Defense that we're going to use for a test. The reason I want to use this one is it is a direct blowback system. After we run this test, we'll switch over to a radial delay system, which in my opinion is pretty superior. Now Daniel Defense did a really good job with their hydraulic buffer system in order to slow down the rate of fire. And if you put in a super safety or an FRT or any of those devices, you'll find that this chugs like an Uzi speed, like really ideal. However, when you put a suppressor on it, it tends to kick back a little too much gas. So I'm not sure that I love the weapon as a suppressor host, but it does make for good testing in order for us to read how much back pressure the weapon is creating. So again, I'm going to start with the PTR Vent 9mm suppressor. We're going to be shooting subsonic ammunition today from 6 Hour. Looks like this. So it's not flat nose, which is kind of weird. Usually subsonic is flat nose and this stuff is not. All right, let's get her loaded up. Here we go. Get my iPro on. See how she sounds. Dead trigger. Didn't feed. Failure to battery. Man, this gun is not old. That was 32 rounds in what should be a 35 round magazine. So it's interesting it didn't battery. Here we go. That kicked a good amount of gas in my face because I'm shooting left-handed, and again, this is a direct blowback system. So I can say it sounded good, but the gas in the face kind of sucked. In fact, I can see it on my iPro right now. All right, let's rotate in. Alrighty, our first suppressor, this is the B&T Vers 360. Still some gas to the face, not a ton. To me, that sounded a little bit louder than the PTR, but it sounded deeper than the PTR. So I would say that was pretty nice. Let's switch from this guy directly to the HUXWRX. And this is the HUXWRX 36 caliber. And then we'll move into both of the 9mm specific suppressors. Okay, HUX 36. That sounded better, for sure, than the B&T, and it was definitely lower back pressure than the B&T. I could feel a little bit of gas to my face, but nothing like the two suppressors beforehand. A little bit smaller, a little bit skinnier than the 36 caliber suppressor. Screw this guy on. Okay, this is the 9mm suppressor from HUXWRX. I can't say that that did better than their multi-cal. Their multi-cal far surpassed the 9mm suppressor. In other words, if you've got a PCC and you're thinking you want a HUXWRX, I don't think the 9mm can is the way to go. I think they increased the back pressure on this thing, and it's a K can that says it on the side. They're trying to keep it small, they're trying to keep it light, and I think they're doing that to give back pressure to your pistol so that it unlocks and cycles. Whereas on a PCC, you don't really want that back pressure. Alrighty, now we've got their pistol suppressor from B&T. This is going to kick a lot of gas at me. That sounded the best of all the suppressors so far. That sounded really good, deep. It still has that little bit of a sharp kind of thwang to it, but it really isn't bad. But it was probably the highest in back pressure. I felt a lot of crap get kicked into my face. But the multi-cal from B&T has, it's got lower back pressure. So all in all, I think that's the superior suppressor. I've got one more wild card that I wanted to test just because I'm here and I'm curious. And that's, they called it an SQD-M. And it's a 9mm suppressor meant for PCCs. And it's modular, kind of like this one where you can remove the end. But it has flow and non-flow, venting and non-venting cap. So I've gotten to play with this just a little bit on a few different guns, and you know, I haven't put it to a full back pressure, you know, what we call this direct blowback system. So on a radial delay, on an MP5, it does good. On this, I wonder if it's going to be high in its back pressure and therefore make it not such a great suppressor. Well, let's find out. Here it is in its long configuration with the vented cap. Again, this is the Daniel Defense PCC with subsonic ammunition. That's nice. Back pressure, medium. There was still gas in the face. It wasn't bad. It sounded deep. I mean, there's a lot of volume in that suppressor, so it sounded deep. It sounded good. I hate to say this, but in this test, B&T wins across the board in kind of everything that I just tested. Just straight blowback. It seems that B&T is doing really good with that low back pressure and good sounding. HUXWRX killed it with the low back pressure on their versatile caliber suppressor, but on their little one, I think it's high back pressure to unlock. On the big one, I think it doesn't sound quite as good as the rest of the suppressors, but it is still a great suppressor, especially if you're looking for that low back pressure option. Let's now move into a radial delay unlocking system and see how it performs. Alrighty, now I've got a radial delay bolt carrier group for 9mm inside a next level armament 4-inch 9mm AR-15. Now, CMMG, those are awfully similar in their design and performance. And yes, there is a super safety in here, but I'll be using it on semi only, not forward reset. All right, let's give her a try. This is the 36 full size, the HUXWRX multi-cal suppressor. That sounded pretty good. Brass kind of slipped out of that gently, which would suggest between the radial delay and the low back pressure that this is a really good pairing. I felt no gas in the face, which is really quite nice. Alrighty, now we've got the B&T. This is the Range 36 or the Vers 36. Man, it's all the different ways to order coffee. We can't make it simple. I'm just gonna call this the B&T multi-cal suppressor, and it's on the 4-inch radial delay. That sounded a little better than the Hux. It sounded just a little bit, well, a noticeable amount. But back pressure wise, it's ejecting a little bit further. So obviously this guy has a little bit more back pressure. But as a lefty, I'm feeling no gas in the face. That's partly attributed to the radial delay unlocking mechanism. And partly attributed to the venting forward system that this guy has. That was a really very pleasant suppressor to shoot. I've got the Vent 9mm, which historically I've called this like one of the best sounding suppressors on the market. And again, Subsonic's 4-inch barrel. That is still the best sounding suppressor I have tested today. That has got such a great ring to it. It's so deep, it's so quiet. That is a really very good things down into more pleasant. Deep, deep pitch to it. I can't say it outperformed the PTR. I think the PTR sounded just a little bit deeper. A little bit quieter, a little bit deeper. But if you were to compare all things like weight, cost, all the other things, you might have a good merit for arguing over the B&T being better than the PTR. Sound alone, the PTR, yet again, takes the cake. I think that PTR suppressor just sounds really very good. It does look nice and tidy little package we got. Okay, that was the loudest of them so far, but even though it was the loudest, it really didn't ring my bell or anything, which is very impressive given how tiny this little thing is. So for such a tiny suppressor, back pressure was medium. You saw it eject a good 5 foot out that way. So it's got a medium amount of back pressure. That's to do the unlocking mechanism, but the radial delay system, no gas in the face. Kind of all of the suppressors today, there was, at least on the radial delay, there was really no gas in the face as a lefty. So I have to say, that Daniel Defense is a very cool gun, but I do not like it as a suppressor host. It definitely gives me a very clear indication of how much gas is coming out of that bolt carrier group and bolt face, and it's just, I don't like that thing. This radial delay system is far superior when it comes to suppressor hosts. All right, guys, make sure you like, comment, subscribe. We love making this content. The work you do in the comment section really does go a long way for us. Even if you just say, I like cookies, or what your favorite type of soda is, any of that stuff really does go a long way. We appreciate your guys' support. We got a lot more content coming, so make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one. As always, stay safe.